Right, so basically, Predator, the Predator. Is it called the Predator? Or is it just Predator? It's the
Fuck if I know.
Yeah. So we went to see yesterday, and it wasn't really a letdown, but that's because I had very low expectations. How do you feel about
I must admit, my expectations had gone up a bit because I had heard some fairly okay reviews. So I was thinking, okay, yeah, this could be good. And ultimately, it wasn't bad, but it was very meh.
that? Kind of reminded me a little bit, maybe not as extreme as an example, but Blade Trinity, where it's got some decent stuff in there,
Hmm.
but it's kind of all thrown out by sort of dodgy ending and also the sitcom factor. And even in Blade Trinity, even the character Blade himself is saying, what do you think, this is a fucking sitcom? Do you think this is a fucking joke? And it's like, how do we go from that to that? And I kind of get that from this.
It seems to be kind of in the like just immediately after the Matrix came out, the film. Every other film had to have like slow motion, like jumping at each other, like firing the guns. And now it
Mm.
seems to be ever since we've had the Marvel films, every film's got to have that kind of like witty, banter, one-liners, kind of like, you know, like
Yeah,
everybody's trying to be like Robert Downey Jr.'s
yeah,
Iron Man or something like that. I mean, we had that in like Star Wars with The Last Jedi. It's like I don't really think a Star Wars character should be making yo mama jokes to somebody. And this
yeah.
had a little bit of that as well. It's like I kind of get what you're going for. You don't want to be too serious,
Mm.
but I don't think it needed like funny kind of one-linery type things all the way through it.
Because ultimately it tones the film down as well, and as a franchise, Predator is fairly sort of gritty. And even people that didn't like the second film with Danny Glover, which I liked, but at least it still retained that sort of grittiness. You bought it was set in the same universe, whereas this feels more like it's become more like a sitcom, which I can sort of understand because that's Shane Black's thing, and Shane Black obviously wrote part of and starred in the original Predator film, so obviously it's not like they brought him on as a guy for hire, but at the same time he brought with it the thing that he did, because he did films like Iron Man 3, which had a pretty good sense of humour, which worked in that, in my opinion, and also like films like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah, but it
What's that one?
seems to work in like the Marvel films because we'd had these overly serious, like fucking. I'm going to stand on a rooftop in the rain and be really gravelly and serious, and everything's really dark. So the Marvel films were like a nice breath of fresh air, and there was something different. But it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily work in everything. It's just like, yeah, in The Matrix, they did these really awesome effects that worked really well. Didn't work so well when they tried to do it in like Charlie's Angels and stuff. It was just a bit stupid.
Yeah. With Predator, it's not really an angle that they want to go with unless they don't care about alienating the fans. But I haven't really watched a lot of review. Well, in fact, I've only watched like one review. What has everyone else been saying about this? All the other
Well,
reviewers.
I
Because
don't
I
know. I
only
wasn't watching too many reviews because in some ways we were quite late to the show on this one.
well, I watched.
So I was like, I don't want to be watching other people's reviews because I don't want spoilers. So I'd watch enough to be like, oh yes, people seem to be liking it. Okay, that's good. We'll go with that, and I'll enjoy it, and then I'll go back and watch stuff. But yeah, sorry, it wasn't terribly impressed.
I say the only review that I've watched was the Mr. H reviews one, and he said that he absolutely loved the film, apart from the
Yeah,
ending, which ruined everything that he loved about the film. Which I couldn't understand. I didn't feel the same way, but I can see that because the ending, which apparently was like massively reshot because it failed with test audiences originally. I'd love to know what. I would love to have seen that original ending and compare and see how much of an improvement the reshoots made, because that ending was pretty bad
I
in a
mean
lot of.
maybe we'll get to see like a deleted scene or something when it's on. When it gets released.
Yeah, because
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It can be a bit hit and miss with that because sometimes it's like, yeah, this is the extra feature, and other times it'd be like, nope, we're never talking about the ending that was reshot.
Because I remember when it was in sort of development stage, and there was like photographs coming out of predators wearing sort of like human armor and like standing on the back of some kind of like Humvee vehicle with like a gun in a turret. And it's like, well, that's what humans do. That's not what predators do. What the hell? So
Mm.
what was going on there? But
But then again, it's like, oh yes, we've sent you this pod. And you think, all right, well, what is there, like a predator in there or something, or what's going on here? Like, oh, it's a suit of predator-style Iron Man armor. Like, what the
yeah,
fuck? Why do they
yeah,
need to put it in a giant, like, clearly like person-shaped pod? It's
yeah.
like we've seen it all the way through the film. It definitely looks like it's a person or something in there, not just like a weird gauntlet thing that turns you into like the ultimate predator killer. It's like what?
Can't
The
help
hell?
but think that they were going for like they were trying to secure Schwarzenegger for like a cameo at the end, and the pod opens with the Predator killer that's funnily enough shaped like a man, and then like Arnie comes out, he's like, "Ah, I'm a clone. Ah, I'm no, is it no? I'm Dutch. Ah, from the first Predator movie, they cloned me." And that
Then again, I
amazing.
mean that wouldn't have necessarily made much sense because Danny Glover's as much a predator killer as he is, and
Yeah,
same with the guy out of Predators. He's killed them. It's like not like Dutch is like
yeah.
unique in that regard.
And also, what was the thing as well? It seemed like there was a bit of sort of propaganda in there. We haven't spoke about this since it, but did you pick up on it? They were saying like, because of climate change, how long has Earth got left? Like one, maybe two generations left. It's like, who wrote this? Al Gore. What the
Like, no,
hell?
no, this isn't the world after tomorrow. This is Predator. There's a bit of a difference. It's like,
Yeah,
are we fucking up our planet? Yes. Are we fucking up quite that quickly? Not really.
yeah. What the hell? So I was just watching that, and that was not necessarily the most ridiculous part of the film, but it was up there. And there's a bit with the Olivia Munn character, and she didn't annoy me too much in the film, but her character
She
did seem a bit
was
over the top.
fine. It's just, where the fuck did her, like, combat skills come from?
Yeah, all of a sudden she's Dutch from the first Predator movie, just in female form.
I mean,
And
let me just make this clear. I don't care that she's a woman. I
yeah,
mean, we've had, like, the soldier woman in Predators. She kicked ass. No
yeah,
fucking problem with that at all.
but it made
However, this
sense.
character is presented as a scientist.
Yeah,
Okay, so where exactly do these mad combat skills come from?
yeah. It
I
would have been
mean,
like,
if this had been a man, my question would be the same. It's like, okay, why is this scientist
yeah,
able to hang with like trained military people
swinging through trees.
fighting a souped up uber predator, which is
Yeah.
like twice, three times the predator that like Dutch fought? It's like, what the hell?
But it would have been like if in the film Predators, the one that came out in 2010, if the guy that's a doctor, that's a serial killer, played by Topher Grace, all Topher jokes aside, if all of a sudden he was like a Navy SEAL and like jumping through trees and stuff, you'd be thinking, what the hell? Nothing to do with gender. It's nothing to do with why is a woman this powerful. It's her character. Unless I missed something, didn't have any sort of combat training to that
Yeah, like I
degree.
said, that I kind of missed that as well. It's like, I mean, all right, if there'd been some kind of like explanation for it, I wouldn't have minded. But it's like, is this person supposed to be an athlete as well as a scientist? I mean,
Yeah,
fuck's sake, it's not even like Dr. Grant and Dr. Sadler out of fucking Jurassic Park who are supposed to be like outdoorsy people with this. Like,
yeah,
I mean, she's jumping on the predator's head, like shoulders, and like shooting him in the back of the head and stuff. And it's like, where
yeah.
the fuck did you get these skills from?
And how the hell did she get into the woods at the end as well so quickly? It's like they're in like on the outskirts of like a suburban area or something. It takes off. It flies for quite a few minutes at fairly high speed into sort of like over these woods.
I mean,
She's left on the ground while it flies off, and then when it crashes, she's in the woods. It's like, how the hell?
I guess you could argue that in some ways the ship was kind of not going in necessarily a straight line, but I think that's a stretch.
And there's a lot of examples of stuff like that in this film as well. Like,
Hmm.
what the hell?
It's like, did you decide her character didn't have like a big enough part in it, so you needed to bring her in for the final showdown?
Yeah.
Anyway, getting solidly into spoilers, and I don't really think that's an issue because this film's been out for a while. If you're going to see it, you'll have seen it by now.
I'll post that this is a spoiler
Yeah.
video. We better wrap it up in an extra 10 minutes.
Yeah, but like, what the hell is it with like the kid? This sounded like a stupid idea from the word go. It's a stupid idea in the film. The Predator did not need John fucking Connor. Like, oh yes, he will be your leader. He's the next stage in evolution. And all this. Like, no, it's a kid with autism. Like, this does not like equal a superpower. This kid is not fucking Daredevil.
Yeah, it's like somebody was watching Mercury Rising in that Bruce Willis film and thought that'd be a good idea to mix that in with Predator.
I mean, I didn't mind it so much to begin with in like the early past films. I'm thinking, well, these are predators. They're probably not up on like fucking internet security and shit, so they probably don't have. Obviously, if your brain's wired a little bit different, you can see a pattern that other people can't. You know, perhaps the predators don't really have like passwords and shit to like control the technology. I could buy that, but by the end of it, it's like definitively like, nope, the kid's a genius. He can understand alien technology like better than anybody else. All these like trained scientists and stuff are there like, right, yeah, we've got this kid to like help us figure this out. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll watch this again. You know, whenever I go back and revisit the franchise, with the Alien and Predator franchise, whenever I kind of watch them all, in recent times, I tend to miss out some of the films like Alien Resurrection, sometimes miss out the AVPs and just watch the sort of like, same with Terminator, it's like I might consider it like 1 and 2 are pretty much their own franchise, anything after that is optional. The same with this. It's like, I quite liked Predators. It was a bit of a step back, but I think it's kind of, the franchise has kind of run its course, and that was an alright film, whereas this one, it's very forgettable and unnecessary.
I mean, plus Predators kind of went back to the roots of the film with like the soldier guys in the jungle, but also managed to do something different with it being like another planet and things like that.
Yeah.
This just, like I say, it felt like a real diversion from what the films usually are. And not in like an interesting way. It's not like, oh, the kid being like the Messiah is like a big surprise. It's like, the only twist that would have worked is if the kid had just been a fucking kid and nothing to do with anything, you know.
Yeah.
That would have been a twist to this point. For fuck's sake, you could see it coming a mile away.
Yeah, it was very predictable. That was another thing about the film. It was ridiculously predictable. But, no, I wouldn't recommend watching it. I wouldn't say don't watch it, but I wouldn't say do watch it either. Pretty average at best, and that's me being very forgiving on it. That's the best I can say about it, really. It was just a shame, but it was to be expected, I guess.
I mean, it came along, it took up some time. I had fun with it, but it's not a film that I'd rush to see again.
And on a positive, it wasn't like a 2-hour film. It was more like 90 to 100 minutes, I think, something like that from memory. So it didn't drag too much.
Yeah, it's just an average action film that happens to have the Predator in it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll leave it there anyway, because we're running out of time. So, yeah. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and, yeah, cool. See you next time.